Recording in progress. Welcome to this session. It's great to have you. We are going to have an amazing session with Emy Mylona. And let me introduce her in a couple of sentences, and afterwards she will take the stage. So Emy is a skilled HR and L&D professional with experience in recruitment and talent acquisition. Some companies she worked at, which I checked, some of them are Randstad and Rituals. She has a keen eye for talent and a passion for helping individuals craft compelling resumes and cover letters. With a strong understanding of the recruitment process, Emy can provide tailored advice and guidance to help job seekers stand out in a competitive market. Additionally, she offers freelance CV consulting services on Fiverr, where she helps clients from diverse backgrounds land their dream jobs, starting with writing an impactful resume. So, welcome, Emy.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be here and so nice to see all of your faces. Super excited for hosting this session, and thank you, Judith and Grace, for having me. All right. So I see that people are joining. So really nice to see everybody, and I would like to officially welcome you. This session will be all about CVs and resumes. And what I like to title the session on is a blank page to a dream job, because I've seen in my experience that sometimes a good CV is just your entry to your dream job, and it takes one good CV to land it. So I'm super happy to mention a few things in the session. I have divided it into 4 chapters. The first one will be the key components of the L&D CV. What do you have to have and what is good to have? Then we will talk about transferable skills, which are super important, especially when you're transitioning to a career in L&D and you didn't have something prior before. Then we will talk about format, so layout, fonts, the different formatting errors that people fall into, and how to choose the right one for you. And then we will also have some time at the end for practicing questions. Throughout the session, I will present a few things. If there's any questions in the meantime, feel free to use the chat, and Judith or Grace will help me to address those questions as we speak. But we will also have time at the end if you want to have something towards that time. So a little bit about me. So I have put all of the titles that I have in my backpack so far. So I put facilitator first because this is how I see myself the most. I like to do these kind of things like workshops, and I like to be in front of a virtual or a physical audience. I started my career in recruitment and then moved to HR and then transitioned to L&D. So I have been where you want to be. Also with my experience in recruitment and advising people also on Fiverr, where I have a career coaching profile, I know what needs to be exist in that resume of yours. So I'm really happy to share those insights with you today. Feel free to connect with me either on LinkedIn, Fiverr, or in my website. I will have some contact details at the end. So what you can expect from the session. I will try to make it as practical, as interactive as possible. This is how I like to lead the sessions that I host. It's not going to be just me speaking. As I like to say, I don't like the sound of my own voice. So please feel free to interact, to participate either in the chat or raising your hand or muting yourselves. We will have a lot of practical examples. I will try to make it as concrete as possible, but also I am very aware that everybody has something to share. So if you have any experience that you think it would be interesting for the wider audience, please share so that we can all learn from each other. And I also like to start with a little disclaimer, because there are some things in the session that will be a bit more personal or a bit more tailored to specific individuals. So your CV is your own. Every advice is to be tailored to your own circumstances and to your own requirements. Not everything will be equally fit for everybody. So any advice given here, please take it with a grain of salt and also adjust it to your own circumstances, because what might work for one person might not work for the other person. And also, we will give some general guidelines. So the effectiveness of what the results will be of your own CV also relies on your own circumstances and standards. So yeah, it's not a concrete science, but yeah, there are some insights that I have learned through my experience, and I hope that they benefit you as well. All right. So I would like to start with a little bit of a pulse, just to understand, yeah, how people are, where you come from. So I will pose a few questions. Feel free to use a chat for if you want to type, and if you want to, yeah, I will also ask you to show your hands or write a number. If your camera is open, great, because I like to also use movement. If your camera is not open, then you can also type in the chat. So let's start with the first question, which is, what is your current role? What do you currently do, or how would you describe your background?
Any question, are we supposed to post it in the chat or via email, via phone?
Yeah, you can use the chat for this one. Yeah. All right, instructional designers, the supply chain. I see commercial manager, risk manager, some L&D people as well, product, recruitment, teacher, organization anthropologist. Wow, super nice. Banking, great. All right, well, we do have a very diverse audience, which is amazing. For the next question, you can still use the chat. And then the question would be, how did you create your CV? So when it was time to form your CV, either now or many, many years ago, what did you do? Did you go online to search for a template? Did you create your own template? Ask a friend to do it? Did you have someone create it for you? Like, did you pay as a professional to do it? All right, I see a lot of Canva in there, so I think they will like to hear that. Super Google form, a Google template and help with a coach. ChatGPT, great. AI. We will also talk about AI at the end. Perfect. So yeah, I see a lot of templates in there and a lot of also, yeah, some advice from friends or coaches. So we do see that there's a multiple ways and multiple paths that lead to creating your CV. Then I would like to hear from 1 to 5, 1 being the least confident and 5 being the most confident. And here we can use our hands. How confident do you feel about your CV? 5 being the most confident, 1 being not very confident. All right, I see a 4, I see a 2, 4s, 3s, 4s. Okay, super. All right, then I think we're in a good stage. But of course, in this session, let's go. Yeah, let's take it to the next the next point. So we can focus on how we can get those 3 to 4s or those 4 to 5s. Amazing. And then 2 more questions. How often do you update your CV? Is it once a year? Is it a few times a year? Is it that you don't update your CV and there's just one CV for everything? All right, twice a year. When you apply, when you search for a new job for every role on a need to basis. Right. First time in 7 years. Okay, that's also that's also an option. Amazing. Okay, then that also answers my next question, which is when do you update your CV? So most people I see that update it also when applying for a job. There's also people who also prefer to do it when they have a new job, so updating with the current role and also when adding more responsibilities. So yeah, thank you everyone for sharing. It's really nice to hear where you come from and also where we stand when it comes to CVs and how often we update it and how we create it and everything. So with this being said, let's move on to our first concept, which is the key components. So the question that we will try to answer in this section is what makes a good CV stand out? So we will have two main categories. The first is the core components. So the main elements that you have to have in your career journey. And this will be the cake of your CV. And then we have the additional elements. So the extra things that make your career journey unique. And this is your cherry on top. So if we were to differentiate between what actually goes under the core elements and what goes to the additional elements, we will have these categories. And of course, this is a non-exhaustive list. You might argue that some of the things that you see in the additional could also be in the core. What I try to do here is that the core is the ones that you really, really have to. And then everything else is, of course, really great to have. But even if you didn't have it, it wouldn't really damage, let's say, it would still give the recruiter a good idea of who you are. So in the core elements, I have the header, so who you are, your name and your job title, contact information, your job experience, your education, if applicable. Of course, there's also non-traditional paths. It doesn't matter, for example, nowadays, if you have a university or if you don't have a university or if your educational path was different. And also hard skills. So if, for example, you know a technology or a tool, that will also be something that you would have to have in there, especially for job descriptions that do require these hard skills. And then when it comes to the extra elements, I've added the profile summary, the soft skills, the certifications that you might have obtained, any accreditations that you have, language skills, and then anything related to L&D. So the methods that you're using, the frameworks that you are familiar with, the tools that you have used before, and also achievements. So these highlights of your career that you would like to have. So these two combined make the resume, and then you can choose what is more applicable to you and what is not applicable to you. If there is something that you would like to highlight, then you can add it. If there's something that in your core, let's say if your core is already a bit extensive, then you can also choose to add a little bit less. When it comes to deciding what to put in the resume, because usually a lot of the things that I hear from my clients or a lot of resumes that I have reviewed, there's also this question of length, right? So how long should a CV be? There's a lot of people, opinions out there about the CV being in one pager or not more than 2 pages. I think the rule of thumb that I have in my mind is that it's if you're a young professional, so let's say 2 to 3 years of experience, 1 pager is can be enough if the experience is not very extensive. If you're a more experienced professional, you can go to 2 pages. And then you can also be smart about what information you have there. So as we go back in the chronological order, the positions that you had, for example, 10 years ago, or the positions that are no longer relevant to your career journey can also be shortened. So for example, what I do in my CV is that I started already 7 years ago in my career, and the first few positions were not related to HR or L&D. So I was doing marketing, I was working as an admin. So these positions, for example, is only just the job title and the company and the dates, nothing else. And then that also leaves me some more space to expand on the positions that are more relevant. But we will also talk about the formatting a bit later. Just wanted to add it here. Now, we're going to move to how to tailor your CV. So, of course, as we saw from the responses in the chat, there's a lot of ways to go about your CV, and there's a lot of backgrounds, and there's a lot of different pathways that can land you in an L&D position. But when it comes to tailoring the CV to go to an application, then there are a few tips that I would like to share with you. The first one is to reverse engineer it. So you can go to the job description and carefully read what they ask. And then the thinking process should be that, okay, if they're asking for this in the job description, my question to you would be, have you done anything that is mentioned in the job description in the responsibilities in before? If yes, is it shown in your CV? And then you go to skills. Are the skills mentioned there something that you possess? If yes, does it exist in your CV? And if it does exist in your CV, is it in a prominent position? Which leads us to the next step, which is to serve the most relevant information first. If we assume, and there are multiple studies that also support that, the attention span of a recruiter is very, very short. So usually what they do is that they scan the resume and they're looking for the most relevant information to support whether they will give more time to a resume or not. So if they see, for example, usually it will be the job title and then the company, and then if they see a relevant job title, then they will spend a bit more time reading your bullet points. The more information you have, the easier it will be to lose your audience. So if you want to really get their attention, you need to serve the information first, which means everything that is related to the job description should definitely be in the first page. And then when it comes to reordering the bullet points, the ones that really are the ones that the job description is requesting should be in the first bullet points. So the easier you make it for a recruiter to find what they're looking for, the more chances you will have to advance to the next round. And then the third part would be to be intentional. So think about what is the story you want to tell? What is the how you want to portray yourself? What is your journey? And then start writing your resume or tailor your resume, not the other way around. Because usually it's really easy to lose focus of what we want to tell. And for me, a CV is a story that it's like a prelude of what people will see in an interview. So it needs to catch the attention of, oh, I want to speak to that person more. So what is the hook that you're trying to tell? A CV is not a static document. It needs to be alive. It needs to be that, oh, like it really shows who I am and my growth and why I'm applying now. And then if you can make this story compelling enough for a recruiter, then you will have more chances to be called for an interview. All right, I will make a quick pause here. Is there anything that is on people's minds at the moment? Any questions, any thoughts? I see that there is a
Yeah, there is
question in
one
the
question
chat
in the
from
chat.
Sabrina.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I see. Okay, so what if you hard pivoted in your career? Would you consider it a core or additional element in this conceptualization? Hard pivoted, you mean that you were doing something very, very different to something that is L&D? Is that out of L&D experience? Yeah. I think it really begs the question of how does it fit in your story? Because to me, of course, there are two ways to look into it. Either you say, okay, so this is something that is very non-relevant to what I was doing, so I will focus on maybe any courses that you followed or any certifications, and then your story will be whatever I was doing before is not relevant, so I will focus more on the extra elements that support my L&D journey, or it's part of your story. If it's part of your story and you do believe that, for example, I don't know, you were doing something in, I don't know, in tech, and then you see that, okay, my experience in tech as a developer, as a product manager, has equipped me with some of the skills that are really make sense for my L&D transition. Or if I was working in sales and now I want to make a career path into L&D, have I done anything that can actually make the story more compelling? That how is this transition serving me? So if you do find it that it's important for your story, then yes, it would be in the core elements, but it needs to be very intentional. If you have, what I would do is that I would have it in the core, but then the bullet points that I would mention would be those transferable skills that make sense for me to be ready for an L&D role. We will cover transferable skills in the next section. And so you don't need to expand a lot in this out of L&D experience, but if it does support your story, then just include the most transferable skills in bullet points. And then we have a question from Sophia about achievements. Yes, achievements could be core. The differentiation that I make is that, of course, ideally a CV is core and additional. And then what my thinking process was is that if you have no more space, then you can take some of the additional out, but not the core out. So if you take some of the core out, then the CV will be incomplete. If you take the achievements out, it's not that people will not understand your story. It's just that it elevates your story. So the achievements indeed it's very important to be there, especially if you can quantify it. We will also speak about quantifiable achievements a bit later. But if you don't have the experience, if you're just starting, for example, or if you don't have a rich experience, it's not something that, it's an omission if they're not there. They're just elevating your story. All right. And then Maxine is also asking about seeing examples of saying a story through a CV. I will also try to do that. I can also use my own CV for this one. And then, yeah. So a question from Jerry about making the core section prominent. So it really depends. So yeah, the F shape is how people look. So where you start your gaze. Usually what I've seen is that there's some studies about a zigzag. So you start from top left and then you go to top right and then you go to middle left and then bottom right and all of that. So the important thing for me, and we will cover that in the format section, is that the information is very clear and it doesn't tire the eye. So it's something that is clean, concise, and it really adds it really answers the question, is this person the right fit? So if you say, for example, that I start from the top, and then you have your name and then your headline. Your headline should be quite relevant, or at least saying something that is already preparing the recruiter of what they will see. For example, if I was having clients as young students, and then these young students want to make a career in, I don't know, in data science. So what I would ask them to put in the headline would be a master student transitioning to data science, or aspiring data science scientist, something like that. And then it would be the summary. So in the summary would be, if you decide to add it, it will be like 3 or 4 sentences that is tailored to the job description that you apply for. And then you will have the contact details, and then you will have the job experience. And in the job experience, it needs to be something that is very, that leaves no questions. Like, for example, what I see sometimes is that people do not include the months that they have worked on, or they have a very, very extensive bullet list of everything that they were trying to do, or they have 5 bullet points, but then these bullet points are 3 lines each. So that would be also something to be mindful of. And then what I mean about making the core section prominent is that you give the information clean and on top. So if I have a job experience that has 5 bullet points, the first 2 are the ones that will probably get the most read. The other 3, maybe not so much. So if I'm intentional about what I put in these 2 bullet points, then this would be my strongest argument of why am I applying for this job and why am I the right fit. Question from Gali. I'm not a first starter, but I don't have achievements that I to a new field. I am moving. So what would you suggest? Yeah, so achievements is not necessarily tied to the job description that you apply for. It can be something that you consider as something that would show the recruiter that, hey, you know, I have done this before, so I'm able to do this afterwards. So for example, when I was starting, I included achievements from my volunteering experience. Or before joining the recruitment field, I was already helping with in the marketing department with posting job descriptions, or with adjusting the job descriptions from the recruiter so that they can be published online. So what I will invite you to do is that think of these achievements as outside of the box. We have the L&D box, and then all of this L&D box contains really relevant experience, like I designed this course, I delivered this training, all of this is in the box. What is outside of the box is anything that can be transferable. And the way that we think about transferable skills is not necessarily something that is a clear line that, oh, I organize a training for sales, and then that means that I can also organize a training for internal employees. this is a straight line, but then it can also be a line that is more zigzag. Like I'm a project manager and I'm doing project manager for developers, so I can also manage projects. So this is not a straight line, but still a line. And we can also reflect on that a bit later. All right, so I will continue a bit with the presentation, and hopefully this will answer a few questions afterwards. And before moving to the next section, I will also pause some time for questions, just being mindful of the time. And I hope so far I've answered the questions that you have, but if I didn't, please feel free to come back to it. And then, another thing that I would like to talk to you about when tailoring your resume is that there's a lot of things that you can do with the help of the AI. So if you want to tailor your CV, you can use AI to do a sanity check. Like for example, today I wanted to apply for a position, and then what I did was using a prompt of, okay, here's the job description, copy paste. Here is my resume, copy paste. What would you advise me to tailor, and what are the maybe some achievements that I can highlight so that I can tailor my CV to the job description. You can also use it to identify some keywords that should be there in case you want to be also ATS software compliant. And you can also ask it to transform any qualitative information into quantitative metrics. So if you have done something in the past, you can also ask for questions like, hey, how can I quantify this achievement? You can also use it to copy paste your resume and then ask it to make a profile summary. And then you can ask it to refine it by making it more concise or by tailoring it to a specific job description or tailoring it to a company. And also you can use it to suggest more concise phrasing for your bullet points. So if you are struggling with making these 4 sentences bullet points into 1 sentence, you can also use AI to do that. And of course, there are so many other tools out there. So I would encourage you to go out and explore what is out there besides ChatGPT. Also, being mindful that maybe these tools are not 100% bulletproof. So, for example, there are ideas of using AI to proofread or to do a language check. But still make sure to still double check it because maybe sometimes there might be some omissions that you would like to avoid. All right, now let's move to transferable skills. I saw also some questions that touch upon that topic as well, so I would like to cover that as well before taking more questions. So the transferable skills are one of your secret weapons when it comes to transitioning to an L&D career, and we will explore in this section why do they matter. So I like to describe the transferable skills as a Swiss Army knife. So with these ones, you are versatile, reliable, and you're always handy. So how you can use them, the first step in this process is to identify them. So reflect any past experiences and try to see how these skills that you have honed could also help you in an L&D challenge. And I think the thinking process can be that reading a job description or asking friends that are already in the L&D space, what are they busy with day to day? What is their daily life? What are some tasks? Read job descriptions of the responsibilities of a role, and then try to see, okay, so if I didn't have any prior experience to that, what would help me navigate it? So if you are a sales manager and you were doing cold calls, how this understanding of client acquisition will help you to provide learning journeys for participants. And again, it might not be a straight line, but if you are in the process of thinking and brainstorming of how you could actually use your skills to do that, then you will be able to identify them. Then, after identifying those transferable skills, those experiences that equip you to move to an L&D position, then you also need to align. So let's say you have come up with a list of skills, and then you can align those for specific job descriptions. So let's say that one of your transferable skills is presentation skills. It might not be in an L&D position, but you were asked to present in a product, let's say, team. So how is the L&D position you apply for requiring presentation skills? If yes, then that's an alignment. If not, then it might be transferable, but it's not in alignment with the position. And then make them your own. So there's a lot of skills that are out there. And then if you go to AI or Google just to search what are those transferable skills that have equipment, you will see a big list. You can carefully handpick the one that are your own, the one that tell your story, the one that make you unique. Because of course there are some skills that are quite generic, like for example communication skills. Okay, if you put communication skills in your CV, it needs to elevate your story. And you need to have examples to support that. Hey, communication skills is not that I can work with a team, because probably anybody can do that. But what is unique about that for you? Have you, for example, honed a specific communication technique, or did you solve a challenge of communication between departments that now have equipped you to claim that, hey, I'm a very good communicator? So if there are just words in your CV, don't put them in. If there are words that elevate your story and make you unique, definitely have them in there. Okay, now I would like you to grab your virtual or physical notebook or your phone, whatever you're comfortable with taking notes. And there is a reflection exercise that we will do for the next 8 minutes. So there are 3 prompts that I would like you to use as an inspiration. I will present a slide in the next one, in the next click, about the most in-demand skills for L&D professionals of this year. So from that list, and also from that list, I want you to find the top 3 that you think that are very strong with you because of your past experience. Then I would like you to find 3 more that you could potentially improve or work further towards. And then moving away from that list, I would like you to think of 3 additional ones that you could leverage. So out of the box thinking, like what is not in that list that you have honed and you can add in your backpack. So I would like you to come up with 3s. So from that list that I will show you now, which are the 3 that you have honed in your past experience, the ones that are strongest with you? What are the ones that you would like to improve? And what are the additional ones that you have thought and are not in that list? All right, everyone clear with the exercise? Super, I love those thumbs. Okay, let's see the skills, and the time starts now. I will leave you a few minutes. If you have any questions about the exercise, please feel free to write in the chat. Otherwise, let's come back to this room in 7 minutes.
Emy, there is a question. What does leverage mean in this context?
Leverage means that you can, anything that you can use, anything that you can take advantage of. Like, for example, if in this slide we don't see, I don't know, presentation skills, as I mentioned before. So if presentations is something that you have done before and you can use, this is something you can leverage. So something that you can take from your backpack and put it to use.
Thank you. This is great. By the way, I got this question directly. So if you want me to read your question out loud, this is also a way to do it. Thanks.
Question from Sabrina for this exercise. Yes, indeed, these are quite broad ones, and I think that's also something that is quite a pitfall in the CVs I see, is that these are just words, right? So these would be the starting point for inspiration to make it your own. So, for example, we see, as you mentioned, human resources skills. What does that mean for you? If you take this as an inspiration and starting point, what would mean it for you? So in my experience, for example, I used to be in HR when I was doing anything from contracts to difficult conversations to coaching managers. So if I start thinking about this experience of me, I start from human resources, which means also I'm also operationally, I have HR operations, I have knowledge, let's say, of the different local labor laws. That's also a soft skill or hard skill, depending how you look at it. And then it can also be coaching managers. So coaching managers for me is something that elevates my story. Whereas, for example, operational efficiency would be something that doesn't elevate my story because I'm not looking for an operational role. So you can use it as a starting point and then break it down. So in the third part, which are the additional ones you can leverage, I challenge you also to think about, okay, how can I break down the skill to sub skills that are more particular and more tailored and relevant for my own experience. And also that also relates to training. So if training means for you that you deliver a training, that's also something that you can do. So how you can also make it more specific. And this is also a good exercise to be more mindful of what skills you add to your CV. Because these questions that you ask could also be the questions that the recruiter would ask if they see these words in the CV. Because there are a lot of articles out there about job coaching, about, okay, so these are the soft skills you need to add in your CV, and then people just copy paste without being intentional. So if training for you means delivery, then make it specific. If training to you means that I know the training techniques or the adult learning part, this is your skill. So this is the thinking process that I would encourage you to follow. All right. Since we have a few minutes past on this exercise, maybe I can ask a few people just to, if they want to share some of the skills that they came up with, either full list or just one per category. All right, I see from Deep, training, communication, and customer service, project management, analytics, and coaching. Analytics is also something that I personally am very looking to use. I see coaching, I see stakeholder management from Maria. And I also like that, you're taking a step further. So building learning journeys is a skill that you have honed. Working with teams in different time zones and cultures, that's also something that is quite relevant nowadays. Human design as well, something that you would like to leverage. All right, perfect. Well, I hope that this exercise also is useful to you, because it also has you starting to think a little bit further, and then before going into this writing mode, just take a minute to also think about what I want to say. What is my message out there? What do I want the recruiter to know about me? All right. Thank you so much for also sharing your skills. I wish I had time to read everything, but also being mindful of time again, I will move so that we can have a bit more questions at the end. One more topic that I would like to address is how to quantify your achievements. So, because of course you can come from a different pathways, different journeys, and then the question is, okay, so if I've done something in sales or something in project management or something in human resources, how can I quantify it and make it relevant for my L&D resume? And I have here some examples. So the first two is about project management. For example, if you have led a team or you have led a project group to be ahead of schedule, to be more efficient, to have an increase in success rates. You can also have worked in training, even if training was not your role. So have you done anything to train new employees? Have you helped in onboarding of new colleagues? Have you helped the learning department? Have you participated in interviews? Anything that is closely related that can be quantifiable, you can add it in there. If you have done presentations before, if you have asked for feedback and then taking that feedback to iterate on a process or a methodology, if you're interacting with customers where you can take feedback, if you have made strategic decisions, if you have anything that you have done can be relevant as long as it's intentional. So the more you think about it, the more that you can make those connections yourself. And then going from the reverse engineering of seeing a job description and then say, okay, so this position requires me to do a needs analysis. And before my previous roles, I was in product. So what I was doing business analysis because I was taking requirements from stakeholders for a feature. This is the same process under a different name because the fundamentals are the same. So the thing is how you can turn that and sell it in a way that people are convinced. Because sometimes we fall in the pitfall of biases that say, okay, if I'm looking for a sales manager, I will only consider sales managers. And then that is your challenge. How can I take this mindset and then open it up to say, hey, I'm not a sales manager, but I've done things that can make me be a very good sales manager for your company. So this is the challenge that we're tackling here. All right. I will quickly move through the format and then also leave a few minutes at the end for questions. So the format is, how does good look like? What are some ideas and some tips that I can share with you to make this formatting, which I think is also something so powerful, because a bad format can really ruin any information that you have in there, because people do not have time to look into your resume, and then if the information is hard to find, they will probably give up. So choosing the right format first is the how you want to present the information, and we have three options here. The first one is the reverse chronological, which is the most common one, is that I start from what I'm doing now and then moving backwards in time. And this is best for traditional career paths, where, for example, everything leads to where you are now in a very linear way, and that all of this journey makes sense. It's like very traditional and with a clear progression. There's also the functional one. The functional one is ideal to highlight skills and achievements, and it's used for career changes or if you have any gaps in employment. So if, for example, you go back and then you have an experience 3 years ago and then you did something completely different and then you want to go back to that experience, you can highlight the skills and achievements in the beginning and then in a way also present that information even if it's not in a chronological order. And then the hybrid is a mix of both. So just to visualize it, I have some examples here. So the first one on the left is the reverse chronological. We see that it's experience, 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 education, skills, skills. In the second column, we have the functional. The functional is headline, and then there's skills, skills, skills. Then it's achievement. Then is the experience. Then some more achievements. So in this one, it's not necessary that you have all of the different things that you did. Maybe some things you take out, maybe some things you don't mention. As long as it's cohesive, it can make the story more compelling. And then the combination is the hybrid is a combination of both. So you still have the headline, the skills, you have some achievements, and then you have also chronological order later on. So you start with the skills first, and then you do the chronological orders just to have the attention there. What works for you is very personal. It can also be tailored to your own personal circumstances. So choosing the one that works is up to you, and you can find also templates online for the different elements of those formats. Now, I have some tips and tricks for you. The first one that I would like to mention is white space. Something that I'm very, very passionate about is that leaving the space in your resume to have a readable and to highlight the key information. So if you cram everything, especially if people try to cram everything into one page, that means that the information does not brief. So make sure that you have some spacing in between your sections, and to also leave a white space in between. Then choosing fonts, choosing a font that is, I would describe it as traditional, a good consistent font and consistent font size and consistent spacing. So everything needs to be consistent. Then also ensure that your resume is visually appealing. You can also use different colored fonts, for example, for the headers, or a good template as well to have a bit of more of a visual presentation. Then you can also quantify your achievements. It's good to also either do that in a different section or do that with keywords or within these bullet points. I also have seen that people have within their experience bullet points for their responsibilities and then a section afterwards about their achievements. So if you do have the space to expand, do so. Also mirror the job description. So start from the job description and try to tailor it. And also a nice thing that I also do sometimes is to try to copy some words that exist there. So if people are looking for, I don't know, a culture driver, just make sure that you also include some words. Again, be smart about it. You don't need to completely copy paste, and you don't need to take the let's say the summary of the job description and put it in your own summary. But if there's something that really speaks to you, make sure that you also use those words in the job description so that you can also enhance your story. And if possible, use visuals. So anything that you have in skills, for example, I've seen some people use also bars for their skills or a chart by. Maybe sometimes people use logos of the companies or logos of the tools that they have used. It also adds to the readability and visual appealing of to the CV being visually appealing. All right, I had another exercise, but maybe this could be a homework. So I will come back to it a bit later, or I can send it to you afterwards. But being mindful of time, I will stay here a bit and take some more questions. So if you have something that you want to get off your chest, any thoughts or anything that you would like to ask, I saw a few questions before that I would like to address. About the motivational letter, I think the motivational letter is something that if it's used to explain or expand on your CV is valuable, because, for example, sometimes a CV has some questions raised. Like, for example, when I apply for a position that I asked for 10 years of experience and I have 5 or I have 8, but I do think that I'm a good candidate, a cover letter can make my case. If there's an argument that you would like to expand, or if there's something in your resume that you would like to explain, a career gap, a change, or something that you would like to expand on, you can use it. If it's a repetition of your resume, then I would say not. But nowadays also a lot of companies have these pre-screening questions, the application questions. So this is also a form of motivational letter. But if there is a field where you can add your motivational letter and you do have something more to say, something that supports the case of your resume, then you can do that. For different countries and regions, this is also something that is, it's a good question. I don't really have the answer because I haven't worked in all of these regions, but I would get in touch with people that are working there, expand your network with recruiters, talent acquisition specialists in those areas, and just get some insights. Because of course, for example, there are some things that are specific for Europe. It might not be applicable for other regions. Like, for example, if you add a photo to your CV or yeah, if you can use different visuals, it can be country specific, but if it's from country to country, I don't expect a lot of differences, especially if it's in the same continent. But if you are unsure and you're applying it to a different region, I would recommend to reach out to specific professionals. Okay, AI tools, I see as a next question. Main things do we need to be aware of around ATS filtering? I would say that there are some companies that use ATS. Personally, I don't really give a lot of attention to it because I believe that at some point there will be the human eye to see my information. I also try to make sure that I do have the keywords there. Maybe something to be mindful of in ATS, especially the formatting. So if you use templates that you have converted into PDF, make sure that it's readable, because sometimes if the ATS is reading it and then the information does not go in the fields that they have, it's usually bad readability. A good way to test it is that if you apply to a company and then you upload your resume, and then your resume is being used to fill out the fields later. Like, for example, I upload my CV and then I have name, past company, and then you see that the information is all over the place. That's a good signal that maybe your CV is not very readable. So be mindful of the format, especially if you have converted from doc to PDF. All right, let's see. I'm trying to keep track of the questions, but I think there are quite a lot. Yeah, so you want to show your CV how you have improved processes. How can I calculate these percentages though? Yeah, this is a good question, because of course there are some times, and actually most of the times, that you don't really have numbers. I think it's good to also start being mindful of that in your own work. So you can also start measuring for yourself. Like, for example, if I am in the HR department and we have this lengthy process of I don't know, entering everything manually in the system, and then I come up with an automation, I can track with my own work. Like, before, this will take me an hour, and now it takes me 20 minutes. So this is a quantifiable process. You can also ask your team to be part of it, and you can also start simple. And the easiest way is that, for example, if you implement a process that results into a decline in the incoming inbox messages, like, for example, how many tickets you have, how many questions you get, it will not be a perfect number, but you can also be honest that it resulted into an average of 10% increase or decrease in incoming messages. These are some metrics that you can think of, and then you can, if this is too difficult to measure because there's nothing quantifiable, it's okay to also say that I implemented a method that resulted in more automation. Yeah. Let's see, what's the next question?
Can I ask one, which was before a bit, but there is a question
Yeah.
about, like, should we actually be tweaking our CV each time?
Yeah, true. I'm not in favor of doing this every time. I do think that there is a skeleton that you can use, and then the CV can be in a group of positions, and then you do not have to tailor it. Sometimes indeed you need to tweak maybe the order of a bullet point or add a specific word, or, for example, you see that in the job description there's a tool or a system that you have used that you forgot to mention. So this is also a bit of tweaking. But no, I don't think it's necessary to tweak the entire thing all over again. I would say that you can have maybe some job families depending on where you want to apply. If, for example, it's within L&D as a specialist or as an instructional designer, you can have a resume that's for that. If it's for a more managerial role, you can have a more managerial element. The thing is that if it's further than if it's not horizontal, then you will need to tweak it a bit more. And this is a good example of if I'm applying for an individual contributor or if I'm applying for a leader. If the responsibilities are different and the focus is different, yes, you will need to tweak it a bit more. But if it's within the same area of responsibility, then just make sure that you have the right words in there, maybe a bit of the reordering of the bullet points or the skills that you include. All right. Then, what would be the next question? Yeah, I have heard from many recruiters and career support organizations that it shouldn't include a skill section or summary headline. Also that we should include visuals because of AI. Again, I think that comes back to the CV being very, very personal. There are a lot of opinions out there, and my best advice is that if it tells a story for you, have it in there. There's no right or wrong when crafting your resume. It's strictly how you want to tell your story. If you think that the skills section do tell a story, include it. If you think that it's just words that take space, don't include it. The same for the summary. If you have something compelling to say, include it. If not, and you just have a three sentences that just repeat what people will already see in your experience, it's not necessary. I also promised that I will show you my my own CV just to tell a story. I think I also wanted to come back to that, so I will just pull it up real quick because I'm not claiming that this is the best example by any means, but this is something that I have spent a bit more time to create, and I would like to also show you in terms of yeah the different storyline that I have. Again, this is not the best example, but I think it's still interesting to mention. So this is how it looks like. I have created it with an online template from Visual CV. It's a good one to just take the template and then create it. When I create CVs for my clients, I use also online templates that are also in doc format. But yeah, what I wanted to emphasize here is that if I go all the way down, I have some achievements here, and also the thing how I organize the section is that I was trying to get the most information in the first page. I have expanded a bit more into the things that I'm doing, mostly because I wanted to have one starting point, and this my starting point contains all the information. And maybe that's also something that you could do for yourself. Have something that has all the information, and then just take out things as you see fit. Like for example, sometimes this toolkit area that I have here, where I have grouped my skills per category, can also be up depending on if people are looking for a lot of tools. If people are looking for certifications as well, I can also have it a bit more up. You see that my first jobs can also take a bit more less space than before. I also have not included my marketing and admin experience. And then I have created, let's say, a journey where I'm like, okay, from recruitment to recruitment in HR, from HR to HRBP, from HRBP to HR advisor, MVP, and then from L&D. And then it goes on and on. Do we have time for one more question? I think.
Yeah, let's do one more.
One more, yeah, and then we can close up.
All right, perfect. Then, okay, I will just go randomly. 2, 1. Okay. Creating a website or a digital portfolio, it depends. If you have something to show, if it's something that is visual, yes, create it. But if not, then I would not add it. What is also good, and you will also maybe mention it tomorrow where you will discuss about LinkedIn, is that if you have projects, LinkedIn can also be a good reference to add this more information. LinkedIn is already a website on its own, so you can also add something there. But if, for example, you're an instructional designer, or if you are in learning design and you would like to showcase what you have created, then it would be useful. All right, and I think that this is time. If you have any questions, any more questions that I didn't get to answer, I'm so sorry. I saw a lot of them coming, so please feel free to use my my socials to find me on LinkedIn as well, or yeah, these are my my contact details. Feel free to send me an email. I would be really happy to answer any question that we didn't get to answer here. Thank you so much for the participation. It's been an honor being here with you, and I hope that you had at least a few insightful takeaways from the sessions. And of course, all the best for the
Nice.
next upcoming ones. I know that you have a full week ahead, so all the best and enjoy them.
Thank you so much, Emy. That was so great. I could see people just furiously taking notes throughout that whole session. So much, so many useful tips and tricks. Maybe what we can do, I see obviously people have to leave now. That's absolutely fine. What we could also do, Emy, if there are any questions unanswered, we can also add them to our Miro board and make sure that they're followed up there. That way everybody can see the answers to them as well. And for those of you that are still on the call now, I want to give you an update because as part of this program, what we also have is the opportunity for you to have your CV reviewed. We have a number of reviewers that have volunteered to take a look and give feedback. So what we're going to do is we'll post on the Slack channel, we'll post on the LinkedIn channel, and we're going to add it to the Miro board as well. You can share your CV to the Shaker's email address, and someone will review your CV within 2 weeks. Rafa's asking how we can join the Slack channel. If you are in if you're in the LinkedIn channel, Anna Maria normally adds people in. So maybe we can also share on there how you can do that. So yeah, get in the L&D Shakers LinkedIn channel is the first step. Yeah, this is will be an option for you up until the end of the boot camp. So that's the 30th of November. So what we suggest you do is just take some time to think about your CV based on what you've learned today. Modify it, edit it, add in those transferable skills. Once you're happy with it, you can send it over to the email for it to be reviewed. So yeah, but as I said, we'll share these instructions on the Slack channel, on LinkedIn, on Miro as well, so you can follow that there. And yeah, now we are 3 minutes over, so we can close up today. Thank you so much again, Emy. This was absolutely amazing, super great. And yeah, hopefully see some of you tomorrow in the next session where we're going to be talking all about LinkedIn. So yeah, have a great rest of your day, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you all so much. Enjoy the
Thank
rest of your day.
you. Bye bye.